When you already have Netflix but you don't watch it every day, things can just pop up in your account and you don't necessarily know what they are. And I don't read too much movie news anymore because I find that it spoils the experience of watching the film a bit too much for me. So consequently, when Bird Box came out, I didn't really know what it was, I didn't know who was in it, and I didn't know if it was worth watching or not. So the first thing you find out is that it's got Sandra Bullock in it, and she is very watchable. I do like the trajectory that her career has taken, certainly in the second part of her career. It's a post-apocalyptic film in that something has happened worldwide, and now a number of years later the people that we are watching are living with the after effects of that something. It's quite difficult to discuss this film without giving it all away. There's something that if they look at it outside, it changes them. They become suicidal, and so the majority of the population has killed itself. Pockets of survivors are in people's homes. None of them are in their own homes. They're just in the homes that were left at the time. Sandra Bullock, with the two kids that she's looking out for, have heard that there is a place that is safe, and she chooses to take the kids to that place. And so she spends probably about half the film. It's told in flashback. It's told partly in flashback, partly in present day. And the present day is where this place and time where everyone has to wear a blindfold so they don't see this thing that makes them suicidal. And in the other half, they're kind of talking to each other in this house and events unfold there. So Sandra Bullock spends about half the time outside with a blindfold on with these two kids, floating down really, a river to get to somewhere that we don't know about yet. The main problem with a post-apocalyptic film is that when you begin to watch it, you have to hope as an audience member that they've thought about the premise enough to find an ending for it. It's very, very easy to say, oh, I know, I've got a fantastic idea. Something happens, everyone's really scared in society, there's far less people, and you have to wear a blindfold when you go outside. Great, there you go. That's a suspenseful thing. We'll find out what the thing is at some point, I'm sure. Obviously, there's restrictions there. That's really dramatic. But then if someone doesn't say, yeah, but how does it end? Have you thought about the ending? How can this story come to a satisfactory conclusion? Because you can't just stop. Movies just aren't about premise. They are about premise plus narrative. So the premise has to take a group of characters from here to here, kind of thematically. They have to learn something about themselves, but they also have to achieve something story. So they have to get from here over to here at the end. And if you haven't thought about that end place enough, then everyone leaves the film at the end of it disappointed because they think, oh, what a load of rubbish that was. It didn't go anywhere, quite literally. I'm actually quite happy to say that Bird Box does have an ending, which is pretty unusual. For example, M. Night Shyamalan's The Happening doesn't have an ending. The Book of Eli doesn't have an ending. A Quiet Place, which I love, sort of has an ending, but really doesn't have an ending. So the story as we watch it cuts between forward and back, forward and back. So we start off with a large amount of people in this house, and over time they dwindle, and we learn to find out why there are only 3 people on the river when Sandra Bullock has the blindfold on with these 2 kids. It's a strong performance from Bullock. It must be very difficult to tell when you're choosing films and you think, oh, it's from Netflix. The beauty of Netflix is everyone knows they can watch it at any point because it's part of their subscription and they don't really own it anyway. There was a time where actors were really quite snobbish about television, and Netflix and Game of Thrones and TV shows like that have really changed that. So Netflix isn't a gamble. It's a sure thing, really. It's a built-in audience of millions of people. It's directed by Suzanne Bier, who I admit the name didn't mean anything to me, but I have seen quite a lot of her output recently. She directed all 6 episodes of The Night Manager, which was Tom Hiddleston's thing from a couple of years ago. It's a screenplay from Eric Heiserer from a novel by Josh Malerman, which I'll be honest, I'd never heard of. When you're watching a film and kind of it's inevitable where it's going, in that you can feel the story progressing, but it needs a kick to get it forwards, and that comes at a certain point in the film where I suppose the last act begins, the actual point of what the film is about. And in Bird Box, that is the arrival of Tom Hollander. When Tom Hollander's character comes along, that's when everything kicks forward a bit, and it does really need that injection at that point, because if there's the one criticism that I can make about Bird Box, which unfortunately is quite damning, is that it's too long. There is no need for this story to be told over 2 hours and 5 minutes. It could quite comfortably be an hour and 3/4. If you cut out 20 minutes of this, and they would be really easy to cut out, this would be a really tight, well-constructed film that would be genuinely gripping, but it's got just enough little frayed threads on the edges to make it that it's not quite gripping enough. It could be so much better, which is just a bit of a shame. But that's a common problem in a lot of films, that they outstay their welcome. But would I watch it again? Yes. Will I be rushing to watch it again for the second time? No. So, Bird Box on Netflix, pretty good. Not amazing. I've been Jeff Horne. This is U218. Leave a comment below. Did you agree? Did you disagree? What did you think of Bird Box? Let me know. And I'll see you again soon.